Hi guys! Alright, today we're going to talk about tomato baskets and how we're going to use them for, or why I use them, where I use them in different exercises, what I'm using them for with Matt. So they're pretty versatile, $1.79 at your local Fred Meyer. Alright, these are regular old tomato baskets. I usually have about 5 or 6 on hand, and mine are painted. So you can paint them green. Mine are painted a charcoal. The idea is that when you are working the dog and putting out some obstacles, trying to correct the dog's path of movement, you can do that with cones, you can do it with other obstacles, maybe posts, but the tomato baskets are a way to fade out the more obvious obstacle and also allow self-correction for the dog. I use them both vertically and horizontally. So as you can see, when they're up vertical, that's kind of a big obstacle, and this right now is being silvered. I know it's in the sun, but this is pretty obvious, I think, to the dog. So one of the things I was having a little trouble with because of some prior training was on the go out, the dog going a little bit, arcing a little bit to the left when he got near the end of the go out. He was going around to see, is there a treat behind here? So thinking there's a treat, he's going around and he's arcing and he's taking a look, and I want to get rid of that arc. So what did we do? Well, put out some stakes first, put out some broad jump sections to try and get him just running straight, all the time. Some people use strings, but you're not going to have that in the ring. So we're trying to get down to some sort of cue for him that'll allow him to self-correct and fade out the more obvious obstacle. So the tomato baskets for a go out, depending where he's making the mistake, that's where we would place the tomato basket. So let's just say one of those pine bushes is the target or the center stanchion for Mac. I might put him out like this, starting him somewhere about from where the camera is. So the idea is being now he can run along, and obviously you can add in more baskets, but he can run along and he can't get too far left before he either sees another one or runs into it. We call running into it getting a waffle face. Because if they don't see it, they just get into it and they, back right away. Mac being a really sensitive dog, he just has to make the slightest bit of contact with it, and then he's going to go, far away from it. So this would be to correct the left arc. If it was a right arc, then I would just move him over and, be on the other side of the stanchion. As the dog gets some proficiency with the baskets being out, then we're going to work them different ways. So what I might do, let's say if his arc is really just more toward the end, I might drop this one on its side, move it over a little bit. So now there's less for him to see, it's less obvious. So now he's only got about an 8-inch cue off the ground. So maybe we start with that one down, and then maybe this one down. If you put him this way, with the tines of the, the top of the tomato basket loose, I would tape them with a little electrical tape, just so the dog doesn't impale itself on the tomato basket. But that would be 2 down, 1 to go.
Stop laughing.
If I have a center stanchion and a baby gate, for example, a center post, I might leave it like this. What I've been doing lately with the baby gates is actually tipping this, putting it inside the baby gate. So now when I do the turn and sit, he comes in and he's got a little chute right here. He can't get too far to my left, and he ends up sitting right in front of the stanchion. If I have trouble, let's say, with a dog coming in and doing too much of a U-turn for its for its turn and sit, then what I would do is take this and put it on the other side, or put them on both sides. So I have a straight line guide and I have a little chute guide, on both. And the lower they are, the less obvious they are to the dog. So we're going to do a couple of those with Mac in a minute. Other things we'll use them for, on a broad jump, we want to have elevation on the dog. One of the big problems with the dogs on the broad jump is they come over, they don't have a lot of elevation, so they tick the jump, or they come over the jump and they immediately pivot on the landing foot. They pivot around and strain that shoulder. So I want them to get some elevation, some height as they go over the jump. I also want them to take that extra step so that as they land, this shoulder gets straight, they have a straight walk, another straight, and then they can come around to me and finish. And the way that I do that over a broad jump, I just put these like this, assuming these are our jump boards going this way, 1, 2, 3, or 4 boards. By putting these closer or farther apart, I can vary how much height I want over the jump. So that would be like a low jump. And then to get him to take that extra step, I'll go under the last board with this, and now we've got the extra step right in there. Again, painted dark charcoal like mine are, the dog's never going to see it, but it's going to come over the jump, land, and it can't pivot. It's going to run into this board. Okay, I call it a board, into the tomato basket. So what happens the first time is, you know, he comes in here, whoa, uh-oh, can't do that, you know, and then he's going to come around and do this and end up in his front position. And I could guide the front. Again, if I had 5, I might have this one here, I might have another one vertically next to me, so I'm guiding his front and or his finish. The finish, if it's a left side finish, will be guided by the broad jump board. If it's a right side finish, then I might have the tomato basket out to my right, and we'll demonstrate the finishes with the dog and how we use the tomato baskets for that. So that's the first part of basics of tomato baskets, and now we'll come back with the dog and show it to you in action. Okay, you don't have any broad jump right